We have had conversations about business and agribusiness for a long time. When we call this, we look at what is it that we can do to make sure that we are getting as much as possible from agriculture. So, the future of agribusiness and how do we prepare for this? So, he'll be joining us shortly. Kiprono Kittony, he's a businessman and CEO of Capital Real Time and Radio Africa Group Limited. So the conversation that we want to have is the future of agribusiness. We've been talking about this in very many ways. People going into agriculture and not just looking at agriculture as a source of subsistence farming, but going into agriculture and seeing agriculture as a source of livelihood and income and how you can capitalize on this. And we look at very many things. For example, he'll be telling us about a wine and cheese festival that's going to take place this weekend, right? About the festival, Ndu.
Right. So, and this is interesting that you say that, because then now I think there are now many deliberate efforts that are being made to make sure that agriculture is front and center, and that you're now dealing with product that you would not ordinarily see coming out, because it has been normally your basic run-of-the-mill product. You're looking at maize, you're looking at beans and other cash crops. But then other things that then can be used, many would see them as luxury or things that can then become normalized, and that Kenyans can actually grow and make profit from and do business with. So I think it's very interesting that this is coming about, and also showcasing that this, or putting to bed some of these myths that has said that it's only certain people of a certain cadre, a certain part of society that can farm or that can be involved in agriculture and agribusiness, but that it's moving across the strata, and that it doesn't really matter who you are or where you're from, that you can actually make huge gains, and also now contribute to livelihoods through agriculture. And I think the trends are changing, and I really do think that it's time now where people are taking literally the bull by the horns and saying we can do much more. Nobody has known Kenya, for example, as wine country or cheese country previously, but this is what we're talking about, that new trends make it possible for things that were not otherwise part of conversation to be front and center.
It's actually interesting that for the longest time, Kenya has always been touted as an agricultural country. And agriculture has also been mentioned as the backbone of the economy of this particular country. And that many people whom we now see are a product of the subsistence farming that very many of their parents' parents have been involved in. So you could argue that it has been the mainstay for very many people in this country. Now, we're in the 21st century. How do you make it viable in the 21st century? How do you ensure that it goes beyond just being subsistence?
Exactly.
Yes.
So Kiprono should be able to hear us. Can you hear us? Can you hear us, Kiprono?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us in the Situation Room.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you all.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Kiprono, the next time you need to be here in the room. This is now the third time that we're speaking to you, and we always catch you on the phone. Next one, be inside the studio.
Yes, 100%. I would love to be in the studio with you guys so we can be speaking face to face.
Asante. So tell us about this Zero Wine and Cheese Agrifest that's taking place this weekend. What's this about? Wine and cheese in Kitale?
Okay, first and foremost, this is the second edition of the same Wine and Cheese Festival. We last year obviously couldn't have it because of the COVID times that we were in. The whole idea of this is to celebrate farming, to celebrate agriculture, to allow people who partake in this value chain to also showcase their products, their goods, and their services. Why the wine? For the simple reason that wine speaks to luxury, wine speaks to, an enhancement of our own civilization. 2 weeks ago, we were in Pretoria for the state visit with President Kenyatta, and on the business forum on the sidelines, we met some Kenyans who are also starting to import vines from the Western Cape. So I also see an increase in the number of people who will be participating in the growing of vines and the developing of our own vineyards in this part of the world. The cheese speaks to our dairy sector. There's a lot of different cheese producers. There's Browns, there's Raka, many others, and they will be here today. Arriving here today to showcase their products. So the wine and cheese are just two products that we have chosen, but tomorrow's AgroFest will actually be showcasing a whole host of agricultural products and services.
Kiprono, even as you say that, even as you're talking about, introducing the luxury aspect of things, and then also looking at what is available then to be able to done with things like cheese, I see huge opportunities here because previously, where we talk about agriculture and agribusiness in the country, there are only certain crops, certain products that have come to mind. So it looks as though it's also an opening up of opportunities to go into other areas of agriculture that more and more people then could be interested in to boost the profile of the country, as well as introduce, additional revenue streams for individual business. What do you think about that?
100% spot on. I mean, we are seeing a very big transformation taking place in agriculture. Right now, speaking to you from Silwa Farm in Transoya. This farm was just traditionally a maize growing farm. If you came here 20 years ago, it was just acres and acres of maize. But today we have tea, we have purple tea, we have black tea, we have coffee on the farm that we value add as well into our very fine silver coffee. We have macadamia, we have dairy products. We are increasing the number. We have horticulture. We have also agri-tourism. We have 2 resorts on the farm, Silver Resort and Crane's Haven Luxury Tented Camp. So the whole value proposition is changing. Further afield in this county, now you have sugarcane, you have many other activities that are starting to take place. And apart from that, infrastructure is opening up. We have a new road that the government is building into Uganda that will make it very easy for us to target our neighbors in terms of an export drive. So yes, the whole value proposition is changing, and anybody who isn't changing with the times will certainly be left behind in this opportunity. We are very, very excited about the prospect also of adding value to everything that we do. So we shall be next year launching 3 new value-added products, and in our strategic plan, we'll be launching 2 more every year until the year 2030.
Mr. Kiprono, are you saying that what you've just said, which is actually very exciting and very interesting, is something that isn't just on your farm, but is being mirrored by other people who have maybe a similar acreage and were once upon a time simply maize farmers?
Yes, I mean, we are leading the charge, and a lot of people come here for benchmarking. But I'm really excited by the fact that many others are also taking it on. In the same county, we have in Kiminini, which is about 20 kilometers from here, I have a friend of mine who lives in Karen, but he's just set up a very good poultry farm, and I'm told he's now got a specialized whiskey lounge. So you see, for people who are traveling into this county, you'll find hospitality facilities that are attuned to very different and very sophisticated clientele. So I'm seeing a big change, I mean, in the rural areas. I mean, we are finding right now that from a hospitality point of view, we shall be able to host or rather be in line with the world's best. I mean, I do a lot of benchmarking myself. And one region that particularly excites me is Cape Town in the Western Cape. And if you go there and see what the farms have, I mean, it's not just farming, it's farming plus. And I think even for us here, we are looking at going into beyond just regular cropping.
I'm sure we've had this before, Kiprono, that if you look at the food basket of the country, reducing production of what we have been calling, our main staple food into cash crops. Now you've gone into tea, into coffee, into all these others, into now starting vineyards. What are they telling you about, what you're doing versus food security for the country?
First and foremost, I think on the food security, we don't really have a short-term challenge. What we need to do is focus more on the productivity per acre. I have always argued, and I want to maintain the same argument again today, that we need to infuse more science and also collapse the water towers into our agricultural production. We've done the same thing over and over again and expect the same results. Let's speak to maize. I mean, last year there was, according to the World Bank Economic Survey, there was a drop in the amount of maize that Kenya produced, I think, by 4%. But that doesn't speak more to the actual total the potential of the productivity. What it speaks to is the fact that we haven't really enhanced our agricultural practices to maximize return. I mean, most of the farms in this region are producing in the region of 18 to 20 bags of maize per acre, but with the correct agronomical practices, with the focus on soil health and things like that, you could very, very easily double that. So I don't see any short-term challenge that we face in food security.
Western Cape, as you correctly put it, is actually famous for its winery, and indeed true, as you say, the hospitality industry, beds and breakfast are awash in that particular area. But specifically, how welcoming have people been of the idea of actually starting up wineries and vineyards and ensuring that we go into that particular market, from what you have seen?
You see, we have seen the Tika Coffee Bills and Pius Ngugi's group come up with the Leleshwa wine in Naivasha. And over the years, I think they've been at it for maybe 10 years plus. I did taste some of the Sauvignon Blanc about a month ago, and I can say it is really, really, really improved over the period of time that they've been doing it. I think what it takes is resilience. What it takes is just to debunk the theory that Kenya is not a wine-growing region. And like I said to you, I did meet some people in Pretoria who have partnered with nursery owners in the Cape, and they're bringing in vines for cultivation in Kenya starting next year. And I will certainly be one of the people who will make an experiment. They used to say that the wine requires all 4 seasons, that we are a 2-season country. But clearly, Leleshwa has proven otherwise, and I think many others will be joining in that endeavor.
I think, Kiprono, there's just hold your line a bit better, your phone a bit closer, so that we can get a clearer line. I think that would be better if it's just closer to you. Mm-hmm.
So, Kiprono, even as we continue with this,
yeah, it's better.
What do you think this can do for things like agricultural tourism? And I'm talking now about opening up the country, because a lot of times we see that when people do come in, there's the usual places of, going to the coast or going on a safari kind of thing. But here we are, I think, given a beautiful opportunity to say, here is your agriculture, and there's so many things you can do with it. I mean, and then opening that up too as an aspect, because here we are talking about going on a wine and cheese tour in the western part of the country, something that would have, and for 2 years now running, something that would have never been imagined before. So what in your mind are the possibilities of things like this being done in other parts of the country to make it, more welcoming or inviting?
I think the potential is huge. I mean, and, for us here, like I said, the wine that's being showcased tomorrow is from the importers of the different wines. And they will all be setting up their stands today. We aren't at the point yet where we are showcasing the growing of vines, but certainly that's going to be there in the near future. Like I said to you, we will be amongst the people who will be attempting to grow some grapes in our farm to see if we can also get into that ecosystem. But in terms of agritourism, for sure, this is the time, and it has come. We've demonstrated it on our own farm itself. We've not made a loss. We've been having, we have, like I said to you, 2 small facilities here. We are expanding the capacity of those facilities, and you'll be amazed at the demand for conferencing at the farm. And we have a conference center being built right now called Cranes Outdoor in the middle of our coffee. And we are already getting a lot of inquiries, and I'm sure people would love to do their conferencing in an environment where they can also partake in the agricultural offering.
There's something you mentioned a while ago, and this was with regards to converting our water towers into better agriculture. Just explain what you meant by that.
What I mean is, you see, Kenya has been, especially here in Trans Nzoia County and in most parts of the North Rift, we've been relying on rain-fed agriculture. And, with global climate change, there is an issue with the rainfall patterns that are not consistent. I mean, we're very fortunate that in Trans Nzoia over the last 2 years, we've been receiving very, very good rainfall. But that's not the same in most parts of the country. I mean, in Nairobi itself, we've had very little rainfall this year. So if you were, farming in the environs of Nairobi, this year, you would really have been struggling if you didn't have enough water. And so what I'm saying is that we need to harness our water resources and apply it better to agriculture. If you go to Israel is one of the most effective agricultural producers in the world. In fact, I've been to a farm in Eilat near the Red Sea that is the largest milk producer on earth, and it's in the middle of the Araba Desert. So you see, we sometimes think that agriculture must go hand in hand with rain-fed agriculture, but I don't agree with that at all. I think that if we can harness our water resources better and also use better scientific methodology, we'll be perfectly on the path to becoming an effective producer and exporting our surplus and taking advantage of the African continental free trade area.
What would this require? Would it require anything in terms of policy change or direction by government, or does it just need people to see the business sense of it and just invest in it?
I think it takes two to tango. We need to see a lot more government intervention. We need to see extension services. We need to see the best agricultural best practice being brought to people on the farm, and giving them an opportunity also to practice, or rather introduce best practice onto their own farms. At the same time, we need also, farmers, the private sector actors like ourselves, those who have large farms here, those who have small and medium scale farms, to be able to adapt to these changes and, have a clear strategy in terms of what they want to do and execute on their strategy. We work here in Sirwa based on our strategic plans. We don't just do things on an ad hoc basis. And I think that, the moment we start to look at farming as any other enterprise, as a business to run, and not just as a livelihood, like most people say, "Niko na shamba huko nyumbani," then we will start to be serious about farming. And I think many, many examples. I've cited Israel. If you go to Israel, if you go to Turkey and see the things that they are doing, I mean, it's just incredible. And I see no reason why we cannot lead in that chart. But it's like I said, it takes two to tango. It takes government and it takes the private sector as well to come into the party.
Okay, you have chaired the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. You have been in business for a while and participated in all these business forums in the country and abroad. One thing that you observe is that when you talk about business in the country, KEPSA, CAM and all, you are looking at people who are in the value addition side and not in the production side. Do you think we need to have a bigger presence and a stronger presence of producers in organizations such as KNCCI and KEPSA?
They are there, actually. I mean, like in the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, which I chaired, there's a lot of farming people there. There's a lot of primary producers. I think what we've lacked in that whole endeavor, and, really we must give credit to the government because we've opened many doors. I mean, the government has signed many bilateral agreements, memorandum of understanding and special status agreements with many other countries to open access to them of their markets to Kenyan products. The challenge we have is our productive capacity. We don't have sufficient productive capacity. In the Big Four agenda, there is manufacturing as a key pillar, and we also have food security as a key pillar. But there's a lot of work that still requires to be done to make us an effective participant and player in this regard. And I think it's not really the lack of the will. I think it is really scaling up our productivity, our hand to be held to see that we, like now, for example, I'm working on our own coffee value addition, and we are basically having to sort out ourselves. I mean, but in many other countries, you will find that there will be agencies of governments that will be hand-holding potential exporters, walking them through the motions and actually seeing to it that they are given enough assistance even in terms of access to loans and etc. to a point where you have exportable products that will then also ease our balance of trade deficit that we have currently.
All right. So thank you very much for joining us today, Kiprono, and I wish you all the best in this weekend's Sero Wine and Cheese Agrifest. It begins today or begins tomorrow?
It is tomorrow, and on Sunday we have a golf tournament sponsored by the NFP and MTech in Kitale. So we are asking the people who are here for the Agrifest to play golf to also sample Kitale's 18-hole championship course.
All right.
Welcome to our farm one day. Thank you.
Asante sana.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.